Welcome to MILLBRAE City Council special agenda for May 12th, 2023. This is 3 p.m. This is a continuation of our goal-setting meeting from Saturday, May 6th, and our continuation from Tuesday, June 9th. So this is the third day that we're looking at goal setting. It will still come to City Council, so this is still a discussion point and a prioritizing of goal settings. And what I'm going to ask the city clerk or city manager is clarification that we had public comment for items not on the agenda at the beginning of this agenda, which was actually Saturday. But if we should have items not on the agenda today, I can open that up. You just tell me what to do.
Yes, Mayor. So we do place items, public comment on every agenda for items not on the agenda to allow the public.
All right. So what we will do then is have roll call and pledge, and then we will open it up for public comments for items not on the agenda. All public comment, as it is for council during goal setting, is for 1 minute. And it's 1 minute per strategic initiative. That's how we tried to get through the initiatives. That's how we've done it since Saturday. So, City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Pappen? Here. Councilmember Cahalan?
Here.
Councilmember Fung?
Here.
Vice Mayor Goodman?
Here.
Mayor Snyder?
Here.
All council members are present.
Thank you. If you could all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. So the first thing on the agenda is public communication. This is for items not on the agenda. And just a reminder for the people who might be zooming in or in the audience, tonight or today when we're doing goal setting, you can raise your hand or pull in a speaker's card for each strategic initiative. We're handling each one at a time. And then I'm not exactly sure how we're wrapping up at the end of the day, but that might be an additional time. But this is for items not on today's goal setting. So public comment for items not on today's goal setting. Everybody will have an opportunity for every strategic initiative, all 6 of them. So I'm seeing questioning faces, but if there's, go ahead, Marianne.
Please come up to the microphone.
Come up and we'll try to help address this.
I just want to make sure if I want to speak or anything on this paper, on your strategy initiative, so I do not need to speak now, right?
Correct.
Oh,
and what you could do is on that speaker slip, if you want to speak on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I know to call you each time that SI comes up.
Are you serious? Good, thank you.
Yeah, so you don't have to do 6 sheets of paper, just 1.
Okay, good.
Okay. And same thing with the public, as long as we know who you are the first time, but you raise your hand for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, you will have a chance to speak on each strategic initiative and the subheadings of that. But council will go through first, and then it will be the public. City Clerk, do we have someone?
We have one hand.
Okay, I can't see that. So
Okay.
if you would please call them.
Lillian, if you could unmute yourself, please.
And Lillian, did she request language assistance?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Lillian, please go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a translation for me? Yeah, because I want to speak Chinese.
You want to speak Mandarin or Cantonese?
Either one.
Mandarin, please. Give me a moment
Okay,
to change
对，
the
对。
language. Okay, go right ahead, please.
是我呢，就看到有这个提案呢，我就对我的那个感触很大。因为我是在 MILLBRAE 的业主，我也有一个空置的房子在 MILLBRAE。这个空置的房子已经超过10年，可以说这个房子呢，不是我愿意把它空置在那里，是因为我这个房子购置了没多久，我就申请这个 permit， 想把它建起来，想自己能够住进去。但是我觉得自从我申请 permit 到现在，我觉得简直就是我的一个噩梦，因为我觉得申请这个 permit 的过程对我们来说太难了。直到今天，这个房子我还没有把它完成这个整个申请 permit 的过程，所以说这房子 并不是我们想把它控制下来，本来在这个过程中令我们已经非常的难过。如果现在这种因为这个原因造成的控制还要增加我们的税收，等于雪上加霜。我不理解为什么会有这样的提案，这是我的这个亲身感受。还有就是如果说无论是世界各地或者是本市的居民，我们在MILLBRAE 或者在我们的 city， 是我们的社区。
My apologies for interrupting. I think you're talking about the vacant house goal. That is not on any of the strategic initiatives today. That didn't make it through the process. And if you are, we can bring you back when we do get to where it was, which was a strategic initiative.
No, Mayor, point of clarification. That's already been discussed. I mean, it's up to the pleasure of the city council, but it's 3 minutes not on the agenda, and that item is no longer on the council agenda.
All right. The clock just got set incorrectly to 3 minutes instead of 1, so I'll let you finish, Lillian.
No, it should be. No, point of clarification. Public comment not on the agenda is 3 minutes.
Agendized. Agendize it.
Correct.
You
This
didn't
is
tell
3
me
minutes.
that. We just talked about 1 minute versus 3. Fine, we'll go to 3 minutes.
Point of clarification. 3 minutes not on the agenda. Items on the agenda, you've limited to 1 minute.
And just to be fair.
Okay, stop. I'm given an agenda that controls the meeting. Now I understand it's 3 minutes for items not on the agenda. So, Ms. Lillian, my apologies for interrupting. Please continue.
Yeah, I can continue, right?
You're coming in great.
Yeah. 我还想继续说，就是为什么我们住在这个社区，我们希望我们的社区，无论从经济角度，无论从这个社区整个繁荣昌盛的这个角度来说，为什么要控制投资者在我们这个 city 购买房子，对不对？你设置这么多的这个难题给投资者，那是想把这个所有对我们这个 MILLBRAE City 的投资者赶走，这样对我们这个 City 的这个之后的发展是好的吗？对我们整个社区的发展是好的吗？就是这些我都不太理解的。还有怎么样才能把现在我们空置不是我们愿意空置的房子，怎么样尽快帮助我们把这个 permit， 就是帮助我们把这 permit 完成下来，让我们可以继续的把这房子能够盖起来，不要让我们空置在这里，这是我非常不愿意的。
Thank you. So this is items not on today's agenda. Are there any other hands or slips? I have no paper slips, but you can bring me a paper slip. Okay, I'm seeing no paper slips. City Clerk, do we have anyone else online? Items not on the agenda.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. We are closing public comment for items not on the agenda, and we are moving to new business. This is the continuation of the May 9th, 2023 special meeting on strategic initiatives, objectives, and goals. And at this point, I'm turning it over to the city manager and to our facilitator, Kathy.
Mayor, just a few quick notes before Kathy provides the briefing. You'll notice the microphones are much improved, so hopefully you won't have to lean into the microphones as much, and it actually picks up some more things. So hopefully we have that fixed. So with that, Kathy
Thank
Citron.
you. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you all. I think that we've accomplished a lot, and we'll finish up with the goal setting today. So we're going to try to be as efficient as possible. And for that reason, from here over, and you all in the audience can get a printout of what's here over there in the little slots. The new. So what Tom and his staff have done, a lot of work, is taken everything we did in the last 2 days of planning, and they took what you voted on and put it in with what was already started. So some of the things you voted on, let's say infrastructure improvements, are always, oh, now that works, are already in the works. So that's like a special gift. So you don't have to vote for these again. There are 14 here. We don't want to have more than 12 or a couple, but preferably 12 new ones. These things tend to be, many of them complicated and expensive and as you know, staff time, et cetera. So everything that you need to come up here and spend a little time looking at this so you get it. Starting over here on this side, there's a line down here. These are already in the works. You voted on them and they're being done. Some were started last year, some this year. Is that clear? Okay. So starting over here and moving around are after that, those things were taken off. Let's say SI1. You'll see there's no SI1 here because there was nothing there that was the work in progress group. So this SI1, what was taken off is anything with a 0, but there were no zeros on this one, as I recall. These are 8 points, 8 points, 5 points, 5 points, and we're going to talk about number 6 and number 3 because there's some overlap there. And the same is true. These have everything on them except what was taken off and is already a work in progress. So instead of having 85 to turn into 12, you only have 28 to turn into 12. Does that make sense? Because 14 are here, and some of them were combined. And we were all part of that combination. There still may be some questions regarding that, but I think you'll see that everything is there. So what we're going to do first today is we're going to vote, as in you're going to vote, on 2 of these, as opposed to more. First choice gets 3 points, green 1. Second choice gets 2 points, blue 1. Now you're going to treat all of this as if it were one initiative. In other words, you can vote on the first 2 and ignore everything else. Or you can vote on the last 2 and ignore everything else. Okay, and then we're going to see where we are. And I think that, so think about it. I think perhaps before voting, and of course we want to hear from the citizens as well, I'd like you to come up and look at them so you know which ones you want to pitch. Does that make sense? So you can pitch your 2 favorites. This is a sales deal. Who you're selling to is each other. You want each other's vote, right? So we're going to get it down so that at the end of the next couple of hours, there are 12 left. And if are big disagreements or really close, we're going to make a parking lot over there on the flip chart and add those so that as time goes on, if there's a new grant that comes in or the funds are greater than Tom and you all thought, then those can be pulled off the parking lot. Yes.
Question on process and also to the public. What we did at the Saturday and Tuesday meetings is, in theory, each council person for each initiative, not each item, had 1 minute to say what they wanted to support. And there was not supposed to be debating on an issue or saying why this one was better than that one. Are we using that same process today, that we each, under each of the 6 SIs, we have the one that we feel the most strongly about and we defend it?
No.
So tell us how the process is going to go and how long each council member will have.
Yes, Gina, and then I'll answer both.
Yeah, just for clarification here. Here's that the way the city council wrote it is below and the city summarized it above. Is that between the dark and the light? Highlighted and the regular. Just trying to figure out here.
You're talking about on what was done
as
since
it
the other day.
Is presented.
Why don't you answer that, Tom? Because you
Yeah,
know it better than I.
First and foremost, WIP is work in progress. And then the goals, again, we narrow those down after Saturday's meeting. And the bullet points under some of the goals that were submitted by the council are actually done by staff to provide you with where we are and what the process is. So, yeah, so
Okay,
the bullets were
let
done
me-
by staff.
Hold on just a second, please. Okay, so, no, you're not pitching by initiative. You are pitching, you're going to vote for 2 total across all the initiatives, your top 2.
Okay, good
Okay.
clarification.
So you might vote for, you might want to pitch, hold BART accountable and develop plan to measure cut through traffic. That might be the 2 you're voting on, and that's it. Now, we're going to revisit it once more and get down to the nitty gritty. But for example, this has 0 points, 0 points, 2 points, 2 points. There are many things that are kind of obvious that will probably disappear, which is why you're going to look at this for a few minutes and just say, what out of all of these, I think it's 18 or 28, 28, mean the most to me? What 2 can I not live without?
Okay, again, this is still going over process.
Yes.
So when we just first came in here and saw these, under strategic initiative number 2, number 6, since I wrote that one, I see it as the same as strategic initiative number 1, number 3. How, when we think we've seen a duplication of something or something that fits together, how do you want to approach that?
I think the best way is for you all to come over and look, and you might just take a few notes, and we'll discuss that before the vote. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
And then the second question is, because I told the public we were going to go SI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now it doesn't sound like we're doing that.
No, I think we will take all of the comments at once, if that's all right with you. And
In which case, city manager, would it be best to give them 3 minutes?
I would recommend 3 minutes, but it's at the pleasure of the council.
Okay.
now, would you like to do that now, or would you all like to study these a little bit first? Yes, Angelina?
Just to clarify, we will have a quick discussion about possible duplicates before we jump into voting?
Yes.
Okay.
But I want you to study it and look at it and get a sense of it first, because, there's a lot up there. Yes, Gina?
So it looks like slide number 17, 1, 2. It says work in progress is the artificial turf and the life moves thing. So,
Slide number 17, 1 and 2.
yes. S16.
Okay.
So may I assume that we are not going to back off of those? They are going to continue as works in progress?
Yes, that is correct.
That's right.
Unless this council feels like we need to readdress that and, for example, defund it, stop work, go a different direction. But yes, that is a correct assumption.
So is the other way of saying that, don't put your points on that one.
Correct. That's, as Kathy explained, those are
Nothing on
already.
this side.
I just wanted to be sure that we were going to.
No points over here.
you.
All your points are for these.
Again, I would say unless there's something that is a red flag with the council, but all in all, I think that is correct.
So what is 16 and 17? Yeah, I was going to ask, it may be an old one that you're looking at.
It's
I'm
called
wondering
SI,
The
what's up there.
new PowerPoint is,
Oh, I thought you said
otherwise on
17.
page 9 of the handout.
5, 6, that 6 only goes to 6. I don't know if that's. Are we missing a sheet perhaps?
what is the question? Sorry.
SI 6. Yeah.
You're just on different sides.
That's right.
The one that we
Oh, okay. I thought
WIP
you-
is
no,
work in
we don't
process,
need
no
to vote
WIP.
on that because that's already in action. So would you like to hear from the public first and then study this, or?
How about we because all of us are seeing this for the first time, just
Right.
like the public is seeing it for the first time, let council come up and look at it.
Yes, I
Then
think
we'll
so.
sit down and take public comment, and then we'll go into the scoring.
Great,
I'm
thank
seeing
you.
some shaking yeses out there. We're cool?
Thank you.
We're
Good.
cool. Okay. All right.
Great.
Council, I know this is confusing. This was something that was going to take 2 months, and we're trying to do it in a week. So,
So this you're ignoring. I mean, this you can look at, but you're not voting on because it's already working. Yeah. You're only getting 2 dots for the whole thing. Yeah, a first choice and a second. Now, we may have to go back and revisit it, but please note, we got a lot. Yeah, just cross off whatever. No, but just so you notice, there are. That's right. And then, but they already have points. So then we're going to look at what are the 12 top. We'll add your points to these points. Okay, you're voting for the first 2 of all this. That's correct. 12. We're only going to vote for 2 things. 10 dots. Got points, right? This is 10 points. We're going to look at adding the points together. Right. Green is 3 points. Blue is 2 points. So you've got 5 points. If you care deeply about something, put everything there. Put all your points there. That's what we did last year. Hopefully everything will be combined beforehand. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised after you do this that it'll be okay. That's correct. Okay. Right. And so, and then we'll see what are the top 12. You know, there are quite a few things here that's 0 points, 0 points, 2 points, 2 points, 8 points, 6 points, 10 points, right? So you can vote the same way you voted a couple days ago or differently. This one we have to discuss. These 2, they're both Ann's initiative suggestions. Okay, good. Well, we'll do that, right? That's why I want you to look at this. So bring that up when you. Well, we're going to talk about it.
Roscoe must be. Hello, hello.
All right, so if anybody sees anything that you still think should be combined, we're not voting yet. We're looking at this and making decisions. There are more stickers. Angelina doesn't have stickers. Okay, are there any other things that you see that should be combined? Anyone? All right, let's sit down and talk about that, then hear from the public, and then vote. Then we'll see what we've got.
Williams?
Okay, there are a few questions that we have to sort through. And so people are looking at things they think could be combined. We're going to discuss that and present that before voting and before hearing from the public. Okay, so once you all have had a chance to get a sense of what you're going to vote for and what might be a duplicate, then please sit down and we will either combine or not based on whatever the reality is around legislation requirements and so forth. Okay. Madam Mayor, you brought up just before we started, so I'd like to start with yours. I'm sorry. We're going to discuss things that people think might be combinable.
Okay,
So that when you vote, we know if you're voting for two different things or one.
okay.
Okay?
So under strategic initiative number 2, number 6, and it is trying to find,
Infrastructure investment, fund and complete RFP for creation of East Side specific plan with lots of details.
so much easier if we were single-sided, and I love double-sided. What page?
Number 6, 3 and 6 under SI 1 is number 3.
Okay, thank you,
SI
Gina.
2
Thank
is
you.
number 6.
Okay, so on the handout, page 3, slide number 5, SI 2, number 6.
No.
That's where I'm looking at
Giving
it.
this slide.
Yeah,
She's
it's the one right in front of you, Kathy, on the bottom.
No, I know, but what did you say for this one?
No, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, thank you.
So that one, I wrote that to give everybody an idea of what goes into an environmental impact report to make the East, because what the subcommittee is supposed to do is identify what the consultants will study in the process of creating the East Side specific plan. So I am happy to give up number 6, and to me, it fits in strategic initiative number 1. It's just basically tasks underneath the creation of an East Side specific plan. So if it's okay with the council, I just cross out 6,
So 6 is a subset or
a
actually
subset of SI 1, number 3.
number 3. So
And it's only because
now, so shall we move those points up?
that
or
was the question, because we went to the
Not
council.
really, because so that's a question, because you voted on these separately.
And that would be a question for all of these. So for each one of us who had an initiative that got points but is being merged, do we want to take those points and add them on up, even though they're going to go into a different strategic initiative? Or do we want to revote entirely all over again?
Mayor, if I may, I
Please.
think, and Kathy, correct me, I think the points are mute at this point. Because now you're going to take all of those that are no work in progress and you're going to prioritize, you're going to take your top one, your first priority, then your second priority. So the points are kind of not relevant. We
so-
wanted to put those up there just for your information to remind you of where
Okay.
you were last time.
So
Okay.
we're not going to add today's points with the points from before. We're just going to take the top ones.
Well,
And I'm
yeah,
making
'cause
it easier by
think-
crossing one out.
I think we're right. I mean, we're on a level playing field right now. So this is all new.
Yeah.
And now we've narrowed it down from 85 goals to
We've got
28.
28. We have to
Okay.
get down to
plus
12.
plus the 14 that are work in progress. So I mean, my recommendation is now look at that.
Okay.
You're number 1 and you're number 2.
And so the answer to the question is it's a moot point, but I'm just going to put up point plus 4 question mark, because if we're very close with some,
Yeah, I would just, Kathy, maybe
Yeah.
we put SI 2, number 6, 4 points.
Kind of
And
like when I
if-
played basketball in middle school. I made the first cut and the second cut, but not the third cut.
okay.
So then I played
All right.
baseball.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, who
I'd like
else
to
has?
propose another,
Angelina,
yes.
you
Um,
have one.
SI 1, number 2, and
call you. I
combine
promise, Alice.
SI 3, number 4.
All
They're
right.
both
and-
about affordable housing.
So number 2 in SI1, this is Angelina's recommendation. Number 2 is and I don't know what page it's on because I don't have that in front of me. Can you tell me what page it's on for people? Page 6. Number 2, prioritize very low-income housing, develop downtown local density bonus program greater than the state currently allows. And number 4 on SI3, LHTF grant funding for affordable housing preservation. Do you all feel comfortable combining those two, or is there any reason not to?
It is difficult to find them across the pages.
Yeah.
Kathy, would you mind
Housing.
Oh,
And
sure.
there's
saying that one
different-
more time?
Yeah, sorry. All right, so we're looking at SI1, number 2. If those of you that have the sheets, can you find it and tell me what page it's on so people can follow? Okay,
So Kathy,
just-
maybe I can help with that.
Yes,
So if
thank
you
you.
take SI1, number 2, and combine it with SI3, number 4, they can go together, but just so the council knows, the expectation is those are completely two different tasks with different budgets. We can include those, and as we come back with a work program to achieve that goal, this would be phased, right? So I think number 4 is easier than actually number 2, SI1-2, because SI1-2 requires significant work, both legal and nexus studies as required by the law. And so that's,
Perhaps I could explain a little bit, Tom.
and then I haven't ignored you,
Yeah,
Gina. Next, you're going
but I
right
need to
after-
be clear, and Joan can help me. SI2, we have to do a nexus study. SI1 goal 2, we have to do a nexus study and a significant amount of work to be legal under the state of California. And that's probably,
And
you
I
know,
think we
6,
already
9
had
months
a
worth.
lot of that done when
I'd-
we
No, we-
discussed this
I'd
before.
appreciate it if you wouldn't
Not-
interrupt, and I will call on you as soon
we
as
have,
Tom
we have,
finishes.
we have not had it done, nor did we ever commence work on that nexus study for low-income housing above the 15% density bonus that the council adopted last year. So this is, and Councilmember Fung can explain more, but I understand we want to go above and beyond that, and we want to incentivize local density bonus programs for housing above what the state allows. And there's just studies that have to go into that to make sure that when we do that, and we have an ordinance requiring it, that we satisfy the legal requirements.
And would you please speak
So-
also to the LHTF grant funding?
Yeah, so I think, let me just clarify that so the public understand what each of these work entails and what it intends to achieve and the work that is involved and what the impact is. For SI3, number 4, the LHTF grant funding is a local housing trust fund. This is being done in conjunction with the Hard Board, which I serve as one part of the board member. The application process was actually completed. It's just a matter of submitting it when we have a certified housing element. And when we score high enough, and last time we looked, we're very close that we will be able to get state grant funding to help us make progress in doing preservation of permanently deeded BMR housing. And that process itself, it's, I would say, 90% completed. It's just a matter of getting the application submitted when the housing element is adopted. So it's basically state-free money. It would be, incumbent upon us to actually getting that done. Minimal effort. In terms of the low-income housing with the local density bonus program, there are other jurisdictions within the Bay Area has already enacted ordinance such as this. There are models at which we could reference to make it easier for us in terms of the legislative work. Some amount of research will need to be completed, and some of that part of my interns in my office have already committed some of the work. But there are jurisdictions who has a comprehensive legislation on all of this, which we can leverage majority of it. And the impact of it is that we can incentivize development in key strategic areas such as our downtown, Broadway, El Camino Real, so that we can retake and gain back our local control and assure the development community the entitlement process and timeline and remove risk.
Yes, Gina?
Thank you, Councilmember Fung. That's very, we have to stop using acronyms here, for public's sake. It's just, I mean, like, hey, but you defined all those and I greatly appreciate it. So if you are recommending then combination of those two, because as you said, we're almost there with the one, so it wouldn't be that big a deal.
The LHTF grant funding is actually completed the application.
Okay, so let me repeat that. Thank you. So if Councilmember Fung is recommending the combination of those two, I think that's a good idea. And I would also wonder why we can't build on our last Nexus study to, not recreate the wheel entirely, but build on that. So it sounds like it would be reasonable, because as you said, the one is, we're almost there. So not that great an expenditure, but we receive the same goals that we are trying to do here. And I will emphasize what Councilmember Fung said. Unless we are able to provide those low, extra low, we have no control. And we really need to get that control back. We also need that kind of housing. So I do think that's important. So I would agree with that.
Great.
If I could put in a
Let's
If I
let
may,
Ann,
suggestion?
let's let Ann
If I may, real
go.
quick, from a
Yeah.
staff perspective, just to clarify, we have not done a Nexus study for this. We've done Nexus studies for water, sewer, 15% affordable, but we have not done a Nexus study that's required for this. I just want to make sure that you know and that you're clear on that. So it's not just as easy as saying we've done that. This is different. It's okay. I'm just letting you know the information.
My suggestion was, as he just said, we have one for a 15%. So I'm wondering if we can't leverage that. We did one for 15%. We're trying to get to 20. Thank you.
Ann?
Kind of a process question. Right now, what council's being asked to do is which ones can we merge together, taking the 28 and bringing it down to a smaller number. So what I think I'm hearing is Strategic Initiative 1, number 2, and Councilman Fung gave a fantastic explanation, thank you. And that's adding Strategic Initiative number 3, number 4
Correct.
to that. I have a question, City Manager, because we had talked about this ahead of time. I know Councilwoman Pappen and I really pushed for the developer fees for childcare, climate resiliency work, and public art, but you told me it needed a new Nexus study. If we have to do a Nexus study for this housing, can we add those 3 developer fees, or is that a different Nexus study? You can tell me no.
No, we can. I just want the council to know there's a lot of work involved.
Okay, but if we're
That's all-
doing
that's all
one
I'm saying.
Nexus study, could
But-
we add a few more
No,
things in
But
there?
a Nexus study for art is different than a Nexus study for childcare. It's different than a Nexus study for climate resiliency, and it's different than, think of them as 4 independent studies that need to occur.
But in terms of process, would it be one RFP, or are they 3 completely different types of, or 4 different I'm looking at Andy, you're saying 4 different consultants do that kind of, wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's pretty specialized.
Okay.
But there are some economic firms out there that probably could. I mean, we won't really know until we scope it
Well,
out.
and then the
ask
other
them.
thing is, if there is a Nexus study goal, these are the required Nexus studies we need in the city. Number 1 is to make sure we keep local control and we get our low affordables built. Then down there would someday be climate change, but it would be under that heading. Is that a way that we could structure it that makes sense for staff?
Trying to figure out.
Because
what
I
you just
wrote
said.
the one,
Is that
I
more
think
if we
both
were to-
Gina and I wrote the one.
I mean, there's.
Is that more if we did a long-term strategic plan?
I gotta be realistic. I don't think we can try. I mean, look, these are goals, and then we'll come back with a work plan and say, okay, task 1, task 2, and allocate. So I think that, yes,
Where's that?
a Nexus study in terms of the methodology
No, I found it.
is standard in terms of the law. It's just the variables and information that goes into, like, for example, childcare. We have to look and inventory all the childcare within the region, all the childcare opportunities within the city, what the capacity is. Are they 100% occupied? Is there a waiting list? You know, just those are some of the variables.
I
And-
just,
and public-
so, because we're not defending each one right now, but I think, I don't know if it was me or Gina that wrote Strategic Initiative 5, number 5. And I am happy if it's me to say it can be a subset underneath what Councilman Fung wants under there. It could be the third bullet point if we can get to it as a way to kind of shrink these down into a fashion that we might have a finished project of 12.
I'm okay with that. I just need to manage the expectations of the council.
Yes.
I
So that's
understand
okay.
it may not
Let me
happen in
finish.
the next
That's
fiscal
o-
year.
That's okay, as long as you understand that there may be multiple work tasks and multiple line items to achieve that one objective, that it's not, you know, all one. They'll be
You're
phases.
taking
So, and
3
I'm okay.
goals
We can
and making
manage
it
to
one.
it. Yeah, you're taking 3 or 4 goals and putting it as one, and I'm okay with that. And then when we come back, we'll just say, okay, here's task 1. We can get that done in this budget year. Task 2 and 3, we can get done in fiscal 24, 25. I'm fine
Okay.
with that as long as,
I mean, I understand that. And to council and to the public, Kathy and I had talked about, we can't get all of this done in fiscal year 23, 24, but just like we did last year with recycled water, we're getting it in the pipeline, and it may be short-term, medium-term, long-term. So if this helps us structure,
right.
it may give us fewer choices next year,
yeah, I think that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
but at least it's keeping it, and it's helping staff know that what could be on their plate coming up.
Okay, we have
So then I'm
Angelina.
willing to give up my strategic initiative number 5, if it can get merged into the one that we just talked about.
Okay, we have 2 more people that would like to speak about this, Angelina and then Maurice.
I was just gonna suggest if initiative 3, number 4 is already a work in progress, do we want to move it to the work in progress slides? It's already happening. We don't even need to vote on it?
It's actually done.
No?
Well, it's done at the heart level. Is it done at the city
Armando.
level?
What was the question?
So, Ms. Cahalan saying the LHTF grant funding process, is it already work in progress? Actually, Hotboard Armando has already completed the application for us. We actually had a score sheet. We haven't submitted it because we're waiting for a housing element to be adopted.
And I'm fine with that. It's
Yeah.
just, I'll look to Andy, there's work that goes into that.
Understood.
They may have it all done, but we
Yeah,
haven't really.
sure.
You know, so I just want to make sure,
Yep.
because I've said from day one, realistic goals, realistic expectations. And I want to make sure that we can actually do what we can do. And if this is a priority, we can make it work. Definitely make it work. And we'll come back with that solidified work program, like I said, and then be able to manage it, right? And then we're all working together and saying, okay, yeah, I get it. Step 1, step 2.
One of the things that you all might consider, because really what you're talking about is taking 3 things and making them one goal. Could we then come up with a total of 9 goals instead of 12?
That's what my comment was gonna be,
Oh, good.
because we're
Thank you,
not
Maurice.
just combining things for the sake of combining. There's still money connected to it.
Staff.
There's still workforce,
Time.
everything's still connected. If that's the case, let's just say, hey, either prioritize and we're gonna make it anyway, or combine them and we just lower it from 12 to 8. And then just do that. But we're going in a big circle.
That's reasonable
Not
because
getting anywhere.
and the reality is everybody in this room cares deeply about some things more than
Right.
others. And we can't do them all immediately. And so you and I talked about a 3 to 5 year plan, which is what you're saying is we can put them. And so that's kind of where we were headed today with after the vote to put some of those things in the parking lot of this is going to follow up. This is coming, but it's not coming this year.
Just on that, so Vice Mayor, I understand what you're saying, but if we're looking at these ones that all require a nexus study, it's going to be the same staff that
It'll be
do
the
the
same
nexus
staff.
study, but it is going to be done over time. So your question of staffing and budget, some of these, I mean, this sadly, for the one that I really wanted, which is a climate resiliency fund in a developer fee, is going to wait another year. I get that.
And that's what I'm saying, but if it jumps to possibly 3 years or 4 years, that's not a priority. And that's what I'm trying to say. So we need to understand what goes into putting these together, that it's not just saying, okay, it might get done in a year. It won't get done in a year if we're talking about money if we're talking about workload and we're talking about the time that we actually want it to get done. If it's a priority, I'm sure a priority is something we want done in a year.
Unless we do structure it saying that we've got, let's just using this one as an example, Nexus study. The most important thing is maintaining local control and building housing. That's number one. Year 2 is whatever the other one was. Year 3 is getting these missing developer fees that other cities have. That's why I thought it was fairly easy. The Nexus study's already been done by the county, but apparently it's not. It's not easy. So we put that into year 2 or 3, but it's there. And to be honest, for the art fund, by then, Culture Arts will build the art master plan, which will support the creation of the fees. But we can be our independent committees and commissions can be working on some of this too.
And what I'm hearing from you is not an annual priority setting, goal setting. I hear a strategic planning or a blue ribbon committee saying, hey, this is our strategic plan, year 1 all the way out to 4 or 5. Those are 2 different processes.
That's
If we're
true.
talking about
That's true.
prioritizing for the year for our staff, then these are 2 different conversations we're having. So maybe the conversation should be, let's get a blue ribbon committee together and start a strategic plan for years out and how these all connect together. But this isn't it for me.
My recommendation is this.
Right.
My recommendation is, first of all, if you look at this number 4 in SI 3, it's 6 points up till today. And the number 2 in SI 1 is 8 points. So you all feel strongly about these? It's likely we can combine them and it will end up one of them.
So
But I think if you start to, I may be wrong, this is your business. If you start adding then the arts and the child care and so forth, you're taking housing and you're putting other things in. And I realize part of the systems are the same.
So Kathy, and I have no problem with combining SI 1, 2 and SI 3, 4 together, and no problem combining.
SI 5.5.
No, I was going to go back to SI 2, 6 and the,
We just took
Oh,
that
SI
out.
2.6
We took
and
it
SI
out.
1.3.
yeah, part of 3, yeah, correct. The East Side
Right,
specific
that's
plan, SI 1, 2, yeah.
It's different than Maurice's concern because really 6 and 3 are the same thing. Truly, they're the same thing. One just it went into more detail.
As a policymaker's perspective, I get that. But for creating the plan and everything that goes into, and this is what we'll do, and then I'll shut up. We'll take those, whatever the priorities are, and then we're going to put a work plan with tasks and budgets and stuff. And then so that way we can make sure we get it all. And as you all said, it may, just like
Okay.
those goals there to the left, you know, we started those and those are in process. Same
And,
thing here.
and City Manager, if I can just help perhaps sort of guide it along a little bit, there could also be phases at which a certain initiative progress as it moves over from one phase to another. There might be an initial phase, and then there may be a phase 2, and subsequently, as they progress, right, as budget and time and, staff time allows, you do more,
That's
and
right.
you go deeper into it.
Correct.
Okay, yes. And let's try to move on. So,
Actually, Kathy, I think this is good work.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
I think
Great.
it's helping us all understand
good.
year 1, 2, 3 on that. So
I'm just
again, this is
afraid- I'm
another,
just
I don't
afraid
know
the
if this
vice
is
mayor's
mine
gonna
or
say
if this is
complete,
Gina's,
complete.
but I'm pretty sure it's mine. If you look on the handout, page 8, slide 16, SI 5. Here's the tough thing, because I look at this as a way to get the city more money. The develop a plan to measure cut-through traffic and approach the transportation agencies for more parity in road funding. It is also similar to the work in progress, SI 3, number 2. And City Manager, tell me if I'm wrong. I know we talked about this earlier, that it's slightly different. And for the public, we get less money than Hillsborough for road repairs because they have more linear miles and because they did a cut-through traffic study and proved to the powers that be that their roads are more used. MILLBRAE is most definitely a city that has people driving through it. If we did the study, we could get more road money and theoretically move from having the second worst roads in the county to maybe the third or fourth worst roads. I'm sorry to say that, but we're down at the bottom there. But I'm trying to, I understand I'm trying to combine to make it the 28 down to 12. But do you see that there could be a subset, or should it stand on its own?
Well, again, if you look at the notes under SI 5.7, it is related to SI 3 goal number 2, but only in terms of traffic calming that we're already doing. If you want to introduce as a priority studies for cut-through traffic and all that, we can do it, but it's just not part of our work in progress. So it could be added, but that would be one of the priorities, right, of the count that you would select as a council.
I tried. I mean, I'm happy to keep it separate and see where it goes.
Gina?
So clarification on,
Your mic, please.
you said I didn't need to get that close anymore. Okay. So clarification on 2 points. As it relates to cut-through traffic, that kind of is on the lines of grade separation, should we get there, because that's going to be the same sort of analysis. Second question here is that we had a big discussion on SI 6, number 5, which is the 5 acres. Now, I'm just wondering, because we don't have much control, if that is a simple objection and not a big deal. Is Flight SFO plans to fill in 5 acres of mud flats? Is that, is that a big deal? Are we just writing huge objections to SFO? Because again, we don't have control. I'm just asking for clarification here. So if somebody could provide that, I'd
Well,
appreciate
and
it.
whoever wrote this,
I wrote it.
okay, please.
So it's a good question, Councilwoman. It is a big deal in terms of,
I thought it was a big deal. That's
it's
why
a
I'm
big
asking.
deal in terms of noise. If you fill in that 5 acres too, you narrow the pathway of the bay, and we're a tsunami zone now right there. So it would narrow the trough that tsunami water. I find it hard to believe that we'll ever have a tsunami, but the Hayward
We
Fault's
do.
going to go.
Yep,
And
so
we're
I'm
on
just
it. It's
asking
gonna
how
run up
this would be
here.
approached.
It's, sadly, the EIR is going to come out, the final EIR, just like high-speed rail, but this one's going to come out in the fall, and it's going to say, we can't help it, we're more important than MILLBRAE, and MILLBRAE should tough it.
Well,
So-
my point is, if we should be on the record, and if that's all this is, then why aren't we doing it?
Well, I think we are. The city manager wrote a letter, I wrote a letter highlighting all the points, in a way like what we did to create where we are with high-speed rail. But I would wish that One Shoreline, rather than just writing a letter saying, we hope we continue working with them, that we better position ourselves to speak up for ourselves and get what we need.
And excuse me, we will get to individual
I'm just
items
I
for
mean,
explanations and debate.
I
Right now,
needed explanation on that, so that's.
Kathy, what it could do, here's the problem. We have the MILLBRAE Station specific plan and Site 7, which is one point of negotiation with wetlands, could be something that comes up on the east side, specific plan, if we're allowed to loop that in. But it's really 2 different specific plans in there, but they're right next to each other. So that's another way of addressing the 5 acres. But no, we have to stay on it, and that means staff has to read it. And probably we're going to have an attorney on that.
okay, we're not doing what we had discussed, and I'd like to get back to it, which is the only purpose right now, we will get to these further explanations and debate, but the only thing right now is there anything else that we have not discussed that should be combined? Otherwise, I believe we can move on to, yes.
I think 9 and 10, I'm sorry, SI 4, page 6. I do believe to some extent 9 and 10, though I do not on board with the, but protocols and patients, to a certain extent, those can.
Do you all have those? Do you need me to read them? These are SI 4.
SI 4,
9
9 and 10.
9 and 10.
think. Halen and I suggested that as well, so.
Everyone think they should be combined?
Well, I want a discussion from my view. So 10, council development, norm setting, meeting decorum, I think does fit with 9. Trust building, in terms of the city council agrees to have some team building sessions and that type of thing this year, as a goal. I would like to hear that from the council.
So shall we
So
combine them?
I would think, yeah, 9 and 10 relate other than the desire, or we can have the discussion, right? That, does that include then some team building sessions and bringing in a consultant to do that? And if you combine that in there, and that's part of 9, then yeah, you can, 9 and 10 could be combined.
Would everyone agree to that?
Well, so I would say number 9, I think there were some discussions on that in the previous meeting, this past Tuesday. I would certainly love to understand the scope of this. A lot have been said about council protocol, rotations, nepotism. I don't know. I'm trying to get some understandings of that. I think it's important for the public to understand what entails in all of this as we embark on this discussion.
But today is not the day for that, but rather if you vote for this, then that will occur. Is that correct?
Well, I think the public needs to know what that means.
Right. And so do we, I think,
Yes,
to his
sure.
point, that if
Sure.
say a couple of council members are like, hey, I'm on board with 90% of this, but X that out, then that's something we should discuss.
So who put this one in? Whose is this goal?
Okay, council protocol right now is by votes. So on the election year where 3 council members are elected, 1 and their district may never be a goal. So when I've been out talking to other cities that have gone to districts, they simply rotate the numbers around. You've got 5 districts, it rotates around. 7 districts, you rotate it around. So that's something, though, that would be discussed and come back as a staff report of various ways that could roll that out so that every district has that opportunity to be represented by a mayor on that. Along with that is just how to make sure that we represent a district, but we represent everyone too on that. So that's part of that. The protocols, for example, say that, here's an example, Vice Mayor, I'm termed out in a year and a half. I'm emergency services. Right now, our protocol says you can't listen into that meeting. I would like you listening into that meeting so that you're ready to step in when I'm gone. So we have to change that protocol on that. The nepotism is when you have multiple members of a family serving in multiple layers of government. What I get from the public is I'm afraid to go to that committee because I'm afraid if I say something, then a council member will hold it against me. So looking at what nepotism means, I was talking to a couple of other people, it's historically, council members' children have served on the Youth Advisory Committee. Maybe that's one where it's more flexible, but when you've got husbands and wives serving on the main committees or parents and children, adult children, it's nepotism.
Okay, so here's
And
one.
then Gina had her hand up.
Gina, do you mind if I, and then I'll make sure we'll give an opportunity for that. Many of folks know that I used to serve on the Planning Commission before I got elected to the council. To that end, in terms of the nepotism description here, I had the unique and distinctive privilege to serve with Catherine Quidd for 3.5 years. Now, she's been on the Planning Commission for over 20 years, and that historical and institutional knowledge is invaluable to our city. And I'm grateful to have that opportunity to serve next to her. And for Dan and Kathy to have dedicated their whole life to serving our city, I think it is our gift that we have elected officials who would allow their other family member to serve on important commissions. So to that end, I think we owe these folks a great deal of gratitude. I don't think anybody else, in my opinion, or anyone that I've spoken to, have expressed any uneasiness of it. I mean, I've served with Kathy for a long time, and it's been great. I think we're grateful for a community who willing to come together and serve everyone. And we've got folks, you know, who, like the Quid family, who has dedicated the whole life to serving our community. I think that's a wonderful thing. I just want to make sure we point out these things so that we understand the context of this conversation.
Thank you, Anders. And Gina, I just want to point out one thing to you all, so you're aware of this. Number 10 says council development norm setting. To me, there is no reason, we're getting into the weeds here about, you're actually arguing what you want to do as one of your goals.
Okay, let me clarify here, because this is important to us, and I do agree with Councilman Fong here. Whigs have served on both Parks and Rec. I just disagree with this point, because it is very difficult to get community involvement when we have people who have dedicated to being involved. This is kind of a deal breaker, that we should remove that part and go on with the rest. And if can come up later in meeting decorum, if so desired. But it is, I think, significant that we recognize the commitment, service of so many people here. And, you know, you're going to hold their marital status or family against, I don't think that's.
Okay, I am a little concerned that what we're doing is having a discussion now that you would have if you accepted this, if you voted for this. Whereas you can have an update protocols, nepotism protocol ordinance, and the update might be no change. You don't have to say yes to it. You're trying to have that argument now, and I don't think this is the appropriate time to have it. It's really, we were discussing, should they be combined? Just because it says nepotism protocol, everyone could vote later. Nepotism's fine. What the
Right.
heck, it works, or not.
I totally agree. But the other day when we were talking about, I think it was like undergrounding of the BART, and we were like, hey, everything else is good but that. So that was a deal breaker. And I think to that point, before we even get up to vote, without us having this short conversation, it may be a little longer than one, but I think just having that conversation might change someone's vote.
Okay.
So I
Got
think
it. I hear
what
you.
what I'm hearing is, let's take that off, because then it won't cloud the vote. If that's there, that's fine. If you're willing to remove it, or we just leave it as is and deal with the outcome.
And put team building on number 10,
No, I think
you're saying?
I think what
No,
they're
the
saying is,
nepotism part, I think
Com-
that's the contentious part, because I too agree that it's honorable to serve your community, whether it's my child, spouse. And so if they wanted to do that, I wouldn't want to be the barrier to them serving their community the way that I am.
So since
So what
this
I-
is mine,
Mayor,
oh,
if I
go
may,
ahead.
to summarize, it sounds like 9 and 10 can be combined if you take your black pen and cross out nepotism protocol. That,
Well, it's mine. So for the greater
I was-
good, I will tell you that I have people that do not speak out at committee and commissions because they are afraid of that structure. But for today's purpose and for our goals, I'm happy to remove it. But I think it's a real thing, and I think it is one of the things that prevents people from applying to serve on committees or commissions when they think that there's an inner group in the city of Millbrae that has controlled things for decades. So there's two sides of that. And yet the public needs to speak up more on that. But for the greater good, more important is making sure that we are fair and equitable in the mayor rotation.
Okay.
So I'd rather have that.
And there's no reason, as far as I know, I don't know if it's a legal matter to say that specifically, in combining them, taking out nepotism protocol or ordinance and still having norm setting.
Kathy, I just
You
cross
could
out.
have that
I
conversation.
cross out nepotism. We have to look at our protocols. There's a bunch of protocols that are hurting us.
Got it.
Like the
So
example I
protocol
gave.
review.
put protocol review on that, like only one, you have to leave the room if BPAC ends and Park and Rec is there, even though Park and Rec is going to talk BPAC, but I'm not I'm the liaison to BPAC, and Councilman Kalen is there, but we literally can't be in the same room according to our protocols. You
Okay.
have to look at that.
Okay. You guys are still trying to get everything, you know. All right. So, I know, I think it's very impressive. So now, would you like to hear public comment, or would you like to pitch your two favorites? Do we hear from the public?
From the public? Okay,
All right,
and they've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
And for those that need them, speaker slips are available over here against the wall on the left of the door.
Marianne, why don't you come on up?
Yeah, can we get on with it? Thank you.
And per Marianne's slip, she's got comments because I asked her to do it this way, so I apologize. 1, 2, 3, 4, but now it's in your shoes, and we haven't started the clock yet.
I'm going to make a small comment about mayor rotation. We had a district election this year. So we had half and half. We had half district election, councilman, half another. So I respect you all consider finish up what those two are not on the district election first. Then I think go with the mayor's suggestion rotation. It's a wonderful idea. Okay, that's all I had comment there. Now, don't count my minute. Okay, now I'm doing 5, initiative 5. Okay, MILLBRAE has a very, not very attracting downtown area. Not just downtown, even the entire El Camino, that to me. So in order for our businesses to generate more revenue, they generate more revenue, city got more revenue and more traffic and then more in fame about our city, I would suggest our city do some investment. We need parking spaces. I want that parking lot next to Magnolia built. It talked for 16 years, 17 years, never built. And then I also would like you to beautify the downtown area. I was just talking to the mayor. When I take my mother to downtown, I could not even not holding her because uneven pavement. She could trip. I have a friend who's only in the 63. He walks every day on downtown. He already tripped 3 times. And he did not hold any city or any merchant responsible for his falls. But that's just telling you, we need to do something. You cannot always blame the merchant, have an empty storefront. If we providing a better infrastructure, I believe there's more chances they got tenants, okay? And then look at it. Look at Burlingame Avenue. Do you really see an empty storefront there for long? Not really. People dying to come in here. And we want the MILLBRAE to be that too. I want different kind of a cuisine, different kind of appeal store, anything, okay? As long as we can help our downtown merchant, that's 5 of your goal. You got to make the downtown beautiful. You have to make more parking spaces, okay? Think about it. The Biotype Park is coming. How many of those people coming over? We don't want to just go to Panda Express every day, right? They all end up to be in the hospital, eating all the deep fried food. So please make it to your initiative to make downtown a little more better and support it. Oh, and beside that, hold on. We really need a powerful business association. I call the chamber. Nobody answered my call. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kong. Alice Kwan. Alice, are you going to want the translation tool? And can it be Mandarin? Okay.
So first, I'll comment that translation tool doesn't work.
Well, we're still, I would just, let's keep practicing with it. Let's,
Okay.
artificial intelligence will get it training. This is not your time.
It's okay. If you give
If we could
me,
restart the clock, please.
if you give me 2 times, 3 minutes, and then I talk in Chinese and English, but English, broken English. Want me to do that? I can do that.
Let's restart the time.
My primary dialect is Cantonese.
I know your Mandarin is
I
perfect.
can talk English, Mandarin if you want to
Okay,
test.
we'll try
and then
Mandarin.
I can talk
And
both.
we appreciate you trying.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You did a good job today, Mayor. Nothing is personal, okay? But today you did a good job.
Oops, restart her time.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love the compliment, but restart her time.
Okay,
please.
anyway, now me, even though I'm 国语哈，好，我说，因为我已经花了1个小时15分钟，我来听，大家都听，好像我们什么都听不懂。It's late，就是好像你们看守跟我们市民的沟通是有问题的。我们3个在那边，我们一点都不知道发生什么事。所以首先希望你们能够改进跟市民的沟通方法。第二，比如说，你们说到那个这些事情，大部分的市民也不知道今天要讨论什么。所以我建议你们，首先你们有一个之前应该做的事情，早早跟市民有一个沟通。你们都有我们的 email， 因为这个是关系到你们这几位在未来的1年里面要说什么，那我们要知道啊。我们今天才知道，我是赶坐来这里做1个半小时，但是很多人想来也没有办法安排时间，所以这个沟通是非常差的。那第二点是关于我们大家很关心你们是谁在做市长。当然，在我们这么小的一个城市，就算是谁在做市长，理论上来讲都是1票，但是问题不一样，对不对？比如说今天我们的妹也就去了 Washington DC， 所以还是有不同的，对吧？所以假如你们要做 protocol， 那可能我们 city 真的要做一个改进，我也可能相信你们也会做这些改进。是谁就开始了？比如说今年我们的妹也做了，她是 District 3第3区，那明年是从谁开始呢？是从第1区开始吗？还是怎么样开始？这是非常重要的，因为假如这个 protocol 是从明年开始的话呢，第1区开始，要第2区，这样子比较公正跟公道，这是我给的意见。那还有了，我看了整一个东西，我都没有一个我们要怎么样对我们23000多的市民整体我们的安全有什么的贡献，还有对我们23000多的居民整体有什么对于我们每个人的生活水平提高，这些没有。我们作为一个城市，我们这个 very 小的一个城市，我们是不是以大多数居民的生活水平的提高，那对我们这个城市的热爱度提高，对我们这个城市的那个居民的生活水平，那个还有每一个 individual 的 quality 的水平提高，我们的小学、中学的教育水平提高都没有。我可以翻译吗？No, sorry, thank you to give me an opportunity. I say,
Are we, it's okay to go in English too?
I think it's fine, 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
up to you.
I'll
Okay,
actually look
well, I'm
city
reading
item.
the translation.
Right, yeah.
I can only say, Ms. Kwong, I have a neck injury that means sometimes I can't use my hands. So I tried to use Dragon software when I was still working in the business
It's
world.
okay if
And
you
it takes a
can-
long learning curve for these
It's okay.
programs to catch up.
You can
So go
print
ahead
it
in
out,
English.
then I can correct if the translation is not
No,
good.
I think the translation is good.
Okay, then I
We're
don't need
able
to
to
You
talk.
think it was pretty close?
I think it's pretty descriptive.
I don't want to occupy too much time, but I can talk 8 hours. I used to talk 8 hours continuous a day.
And just to
But
be
thank you
fair,
all.
yeah, just to
But-
be fair, everybody get 3 minutes.
Yeah, Okay, thank you all.
Okay,
Have a-
thank you, Ms. Kwong. Mr. Freeman, Mr. Peng, sorry, Freeman Peng.
Thank you for the opportunity. After I try to review the goal, and I think it's a little bit disappointed. So I've been trying to help, trying to get involved in the community. Possibly people know me and will know that I'm trying to push something is like how we're going to connect. What? I think the root cause for the city sometimes is about how we are going to generate more sales tax and all that kind of stuff. How we're going to attract people, like from neighbor city, and they can spend money here. I think those are the root cause for many problems that's here. But it's a little bit disappointed that when I review all this goal, this seems to me is no goal talking about that. Maybe I'm too simple or too naive. But I still think is that that's important for the city. Why we have the empty store, why we have this and why we have all that, it's because our business, look at the retail. They are struggling to survive. So what is the root cause for that? Is it we don't have enough affordable housing, below market rate housing, or like what is your priority? I think the priority, one of the priority we should have, is to see how we're going to bring more business, bring more traffic to the city, so that we can compete with the Burlingame, with the Tenflon, with all that, so that the city can generate more tax. And also is that the resident not necessarily needs to pay the highest water bill maybe in the nation. So I don't need 3 minutes, but I think that's very important for me to express again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peng. City Clerk, I don't have anything else, no other paper slips. Do we have anybody online?
We do not have any hands raised, but for anybody that's calling in, please press *9 to raise your hand.
And we'll just give it a few seconds. And I would remind the public that we're setting up an order, but we're not done. This is going to come back to at least one more, if not other city council meetings. And then everything that goes to the goals will come back as staff reports in the future, and there'll be a public process for it. So this is not the end all for all. And then, to be honest, sometimes we do the best with our goals and something like COVID will come in and completely destroy what we thought we'd get done one year. So there's a little flexibility in there. Have I given enough time? Build up that space? Marion, I can't, but you can come and reach to us. For the public, what cut-through traffic means, so we have SFO, and we have the end of the line BART station and a Caltrain station. And people can drive up 280, get off at MILLBRAE Avenue or Larkspur, come down Helen Drive, come down MILLBRAE Avenue, come down Murchison. Very fast, trying to get to their appointments on time, their train or plane on time, and they cut through our neighborhoods. It can also mean that somebody living on the north side of MILLBRAE but goes to Mills High School is cutting through a neighborhood. So different neighborhoods are subjected to more or less traffic depending on where they are. Thank you. Good question.
Pitch your favorites and then we'll vote. Okay, who would like to go first? Are you ready, Gina?
All right, I am going to go with strategic initiative number 1, number 2, as we have combined it with those nexus groupings. I do believe this is extremely important to our future. We do need low, very low housing, and the law has restricted what we can do. If MILLBRAE is ever to get to hopefully the number 1, as I say, we really want to make sure we maintain control of what happens here. It is a kind of free ride for developers at this point in time. we have obligations that the state has imposed. So I'm really hoping that we can prioritize this, do our nexus study, increase the elements for 15 to 20%, then move on with so many other things. So this just kind of puts a stranglehold on our city unless we do something. We have a lot of great things here. That would be, we only get one at this point. So many others are great. So that's it. Thank you.
You. Now you can pitch your top two.
Great. Okay, so then I'll go to number one there. The architectural designs. Once again, we.
Would you tell us which number this is, please?
Yeah, this is strategic initiative 1 again, but number 1 here. And I'm hoping that we are not recreating the wheel. A lot of other jurisdictions have done this. I'm hoping we can take what they have done, we can incorporate it into our design standards, and then really establish a quality product here, easy for people who want to come in and develop. Guidelines will be set, no questions asked. Here's what the expectations are for MILLBRAE. Again, I am hoping we can, what do we got? What does NEPA mean here for the public? And so I really hesitate, as we move forward here, I wish we could do away with all these anagrams so the public can understand what direction we're heading in. So I think 1 and 2 here are very important to really putting MILLBRAE together, having MILLBRAE set the standards, but also making it a lot easier for people who come here to understand what's happening. It'll streamline a whole bunch of other processes and keep us out of court, keep everybody out of court as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Maurice, are you ready? Okay. Who would like to go? Go for it.
Thank you. Much has been said about the local density bonus program and the LHTF, so I'll leave it to the good judgment of this council, because I think that certainly is important. One thing that I want to talk a little about right now, take this moment, is based on, and I hope Wordley was able to translate a little better. One of our previous public speaker has came in earlier, Lillian, has spoken about how she has a house that has been vacant for over 10 years, not so much by choice, but by the fact that she is trying to obtain entitlement and permits to remodel a house and unable to. And it's been many years where she sees no progress being made as part of that process. So that's why on SI 4 number 6, and I've been pushing this since the day I joined the council, is that we need to have a more streamlining on how permit tracking portal and planning process and building process as well. And that has limited financial and fiscal impact to us. In fact, those fees would be recuperated by the development community as part of their permit fees and technology fees, and yet would create a much needed transparencies in this entire process so that the development community and those who wish to obtain a permit, and the business community as well, they've expressed over and over again, and as I met with them, the importance of, how can they get a sign up? How can they get an awning up? How can they get, evening permits, whatever that might be. So that is exceptionally important as we move forward here. And then there's and I've emphasized, very, very limited financial impact. In fact, the development community is more than happy to pay for that. And then on the environmental stewardship, one thing that I think it's extremely important.
Which initiative and number is this?
SI 6, number 9, the irrigation metering, and also the on-site solar generation. Those are the easy legislative initiative that we can do that would not only make a sizable impact to our environment and preserving one of the most valuable resources that is extremely limited, which is drinking water. We all know that how valuable drinking water is. And to be able to leverage the recycled water opportunity for toilet flushing, for sprinklers, and for irrigations on a separate meter. doesn't cost us anything to do it, just the legislation part of it. And the development community would pay for that. Again, extremely low revenue impact and budget impact. In fact, we are creating our own demand as we produce recycled water, that they become a client to purchase these recycled water. So I think that's an important initiative that we be able to tackle.
Thank you. Angelina, are you ready? Would you rather stand up? Would that be easier for you?
Just for the sake of time, I'll just add a quick 2 or SI 1, 2, prioritizing very low income housing, and strategic initiative number 5, number 3, pursue downtown business association, advocating for downtown business improvement district.
Thank you very much. You ready, or should we?
I can. I have very similar feelings about items that have already been spoken about, but in addition, I'd like to speak to the East Side Specific Plan, SI1 number 3. I know that's something big. I know that's more than a single year, but there's a lot happening in that part of the city that is long overdue to be addressed, especially around safety and interagency and intercity land issues. So I think that's really important to get started and not waiting more years to get that going. And then SI5 number 3, I think we're hearing a lot from the public and a lot from our businesses, the need to enhance the downtown area for our businesses.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So I have been trying for 7 years now to get the city to do trees, and it sounds very tree huggerish. But the federal government, the UN, the world believes that the number one thing that we can do, aside from not driving gas-powered cars anymore, is to plant trees to absorb carbon. When you look at MILLBRAE and you look at our local climate, we do not have air conditioning, and trees can do multiple things. We've had a committee working on trees for years, but have never really funded it. Now, the city has been planting trees, which is lovely and fantastic, and the public loves planting trees, and we had the tree grove, but we don't have a plan. So since all of these tree things are written by me, I'm happy to squish them all together under environment on that. But trees can also add 10% to your property value. They can negate the need for air conditioning, which uses electricity. They can slow traffic down, believe it or not. Trees actually cross subject areas. So I'm going to have to advocate for trees on that. And I would say that SI 6 number 1 had 3 points, and SI 2 number 4 tree inventory, I'm not sure it got any, but I'm willing to take off the tree inventory if we can just come up with a plan and get the public to work with us. The tree ordinance is supposed to be in fiscal year 22-23. I've been promised it's going to be coming in months, but MCAC has been waiting for permission to start looking at ways we can better maintain our street trees, and they need this goal so that they can do their work and bring it back to council on that. The other one, I'm going to advocate for, well, frankly, I don't see why we get 2 when we've got 6 initiatives, because we may end up with an initiative with nothing. And
That's
we
right.
really, which doesn't make sense then.
Well, if that happens, we will talk about it and see what
Okay.
the highest one is, see if we can add it or put it in the park.
The other one would be, I strongly feel that we have neglected the East Side for my entire life as someone who grew up here. And we need to be looking at the East Side. It is now a equity focus area. There are some tools we have to develop to bring resources into that community. It is the nexus of all of our environmental problems. Every one of them, they get more than anywhere else, including at-grade crossings, et cetera. So East Side and trees, I definitely think we need a BID. I don't think we're going to get to a business improvement district for downtown because the owners, the property owners can get more advantage keeping a building empty. They can get that kind of tax benefit than in putting something in there. So the concept of an empty storefront ordinance will help get that BID improved. And I do not think we're going to get there. We didn't get there before. And it didn't matter COVID, it doesn't matter whatever the economy is doing, the two fit part and parcel together.
I have a question for clarification. You said you would give up trees, which is SI 6, number 6.
The more complicated one, I tried to go more
And
detailed so people had an idea.
Is that
of where it's
number
coming
4? I'm not sure.
from. No, it's still here.
It's SI 6,
SI 6,
number,
SI 6, 7 is the one that got 3 points. Getting the public involved in tree planting and understanding the value of trees. And SI 2,
I don't have SI 6 up here. I mean, I have SI
S-
6, but I don't
SI
want to go
2.
to 6.
where was it? I have SI 2, page 2, number, slide 4. SI 2, number 4. This is the more expensive way, which is to do an
I see.
RFP to do a tree inventory. If we can't afford a tree inventory, if we can just allow our culture enhancement, our environment committee to work on a tree plan, come up with the tree species that work per microclimate.
So you want to keep this one, the
I
RFP?
keep this one, but let's simplify it
And
in terms of
simplify it by
budget. City
taking the
manager,
tree ordinance
remove the
down?
RFP.
Would you
to
come up
structure
here and
that?
show me, because I don't have what you have in front of you, and I'm. So. There's no number. Lane, I think we need your help. Okay. Oh, there was a number 7. We took out all the zeros. Think she'll give this up.
Senator, is there one that, I talk trees, is there one that encompasses trees? See how I cleverly find more time? SI 66? Okay. Okay. So then I'm advocating for SI 66.
I think public comment, unless the council wants to open it back up, is closed based on the rule. But if the council is desired to hear from the public, that's fine. Sorry, Marion, but don't shoot the rule messenger.
But it can-
So again,
It's still up here. Yeah.
Kathy, 2 dots, green is 3, blue is 2. So green is your number 1, and blue is number 2.
City Manager, can you help me find the goal? Oh, Vice Mayor? Vice Mayor? Vice Mayor, the one that we were just talking about is Strategic Initiative 6, number 4. No, setting annual goals and accountability and direction annually. Well, and really, those terrible statements. He'd come to so many things.
Well,
Asking everyone to go back and use the mic.
Okay, sorry, you all. All right, Angelina's checking to make sure I don't mess up my addition. All right, we've got number 1 in SI1 gets 2 points. SI2 gets 6 points. Now, just remember that we've combined SI2 and crossed off number 6. So, and we're going to go back and revisit. Don't panic when you go through this. Number 3, 3 points. And this one, East Side Specific Plan, is combined with SI2 number 6. I did this wrong. I'm sorry. Go
No, you
back to
didn't.
number 2.
No, it just go down to the very bottom.
Right, and this one's
that
gone.
one's correct.
So, all right, just moving along based on this. Okay. Number SI 4, streamlined permit tracking portal for planning and building. Gets 5 points. And SI 5 gets 4 points. Number 3, pursue downtown business association advocating for downtown and business improvement. Number 4 in SI 5, create empty storefront ordinance, etc. 2 points. And SI 6, number 6, complete tree ordinance for city and heritage trees with map, 3 points. Now, if we just looked at those and took your first 2 choices, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pardon me, 7. So
Awesome.
I think perhaps we should do that. If we look at it this way, number 1 originally had 8 points, right? So now you got 10 here. Number 2 originally had 8 points. I'm sorry, what did I do? 2 plus 8, 10 points, pardon me. Thank you. I'm getting dyslexic in my old age. I don't care. I think 6 and 8 is 14 points. Number 3, East Side specific plan. Now, has 3 now. We've added, it originally had 5. And we've also added SI 2, number 6, which it's just a subset of that. It's not, but it did originally have 4 points. So let's just do this. Let's do the math. 8 and 4 is 12. Okay? Are you catching me on stuff? I can see you
No,
analytically looking at this, and that's good.
I just have a question. As I look at this, this gives us 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 in each category, and then we have 2 categories that don't have anything.
Well,
So would
let's
we-
just see. Let's just see. We're getting data right now. We're gathering data, and then we will look at this. All right? All right. SI 4, although, as you see, SI 3 is going over to SI 1 for number 2. So you really do, it just depends on how you look at it, because you all, as city council members, filled out the questionnaire and put something here, and someone else put something here. They're now combined. Right? Okay, number 6 in SI 4 is 5 points. It already had 5 points. So now we've got 10 there. All right. SI 5, number 3, pursue downtown business association, has 4. It originally had 10 points. Okay. Number 4 has 2 points, originally had 6. And number 6 in SI 6 has 3 points. It originally had 3. So 3 plus 3. All right, so what I'd like to do before we just pull this all in is say, let's write down, can you do this, Elaine, or can somebody write down the ones that have the highest points? Somebody? Eduardo, somebody? I'll read them. SI 1, number 2 has 14 points. You want to do it over there? Great, that'll be great. Okay, so SI 1, number 2 has 14 points. 14. SI 1, number 3, which also includes SI 2, number 6, has 12 points. SI 5, number 3, has 14 points. SI 4, number 6, has 10 points. SI 5, I think I just did this, has 14. Number 3 has 14. I did that. SI 4 has 8 points. I mean, SI 5, pardon me. Number 4 has 8 points. And SI 6, number 6, has 6 points. Now, SI 1 has 10. I didn't call that. SI 1, number 1, has 10. That's right. Now I'm going to look. So how many do we have? Are there something like 7 or 8? 7.
But we've
let's-
combined, but we've combined
Yes, so we
have 10.
really have 9 or so up here.
10. Yeah,
And
'cause
I
we
just want
combined
to
two.
see if there are any others with very high points before we did this that we could either add or put on the parking lot. So we originally had SI 2, number 3, 7 points. Now, number SI 6 has 7 points, although no one voted for it this time. So you should have things like from 7 to 14 points. Is that correct? Is there anything less than that? Right. I'm not looking at any 2 or 3 points at this point, because I think now we have 8 items that we have chosen. Is that correct? For today, that's 2 and 2. The previous 10. Nina's checking me to make sure. So that's good. We need that. 4, 8, and plus 6 is 14. Oh, wait. I see. I did that. 14. Well, we're
That's
taking
14.
this no matter. Right. You're right. You do this for me. Thank you. Getting dyslexic. Yeah, so this is 8. That's 4.
6.
Yeah. Thank you. You're brilliant. Hey.
So Kathy, for the benefit, if I may, because I know you guys are doing some math up there. Once you're done, for the benefit of the entire council, can we just go back through to make sure that there's agreement? Anders is like the Federal Reserve, adding interest to each one of those. Let- Kathy, yeah, why don't we read them and then go back through the math one more time, just to double check.
The microphone, Kathy.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Number one, city completes architectural design standards, et cetera. Got 2 points today. It had 8 beforehand, giving it 10 points total. SI 1, number 2. Got 6 points today. It had 8 points, but we have joined it with SI 3, the grant funding for affordable housing, which originally had 6 points, so that gave it 20. I added wrong initially and said 18, sorry. Okay. SI 1, number 3, got 3 points today, had 5 points. It's now been combined with SI 2, number 6, which had 4 points. So that's a total of 12 points. So SI 1, 2, and 3 have been chosen. Next one. Done. SI 4, number 6, streamlined permit tracking portal for planning and building. Got 5 today, had 5 before, 10 points. 10 total. SI 5, number 3, got 4 points today, had 10 points before for a total of 14. SI 5, number 4, 2 points today, plus 6 prior, gives us 8. And SI 6, number 3, on-site solar generation, had 7 points. And I am calling that out because it's more than others. Nobody voted for it today, but it's a high number. Yes, on-site solar generation. 7 total. And SI 6, number 6, and you might want to talk about whether this should be included or not. Got 3 today and had 3 before, giving it 6 points, which is, I believe, our lowest. Okay, so that gives us 8 total. That's already in progress. These are already voted on. These are 14. These are already gimmies. They're gimmies, a lot. These are already what you voted on, and they have already a work in progress. They're in. So all of these are in, plus now you have 8 more. That should do it. Unless someone feels strongly. And I just called out the 6 point, which is the low end one on tree ordinance, just because the mayor gave such a compelling speech. But we okay. I can't speak to that. I believe only the city manager can speak to that. The tree ordinance is already in process, says our mayor, your mayor.
And so again,
A
that's,
different mayor.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I think that putting 5 or 6 goals into one goal has been a struggle for us. So I do think objective achieved. The difference is on that goal, it has a tree inventory, it has all sorts of things. A tree ordinance is in process. Not, again, I want to make sure that we walk away and all our expectations are identified. So tree ordinance is just not the tree inventory and some of the other aspects of that. But as Kathy said, it's got 6 points. we can now take these priorities, put them into a work plan. We have $10 of need. Actually, today we've got $20 of need and $1 of revenue.
Particularly because everything's combined.
So we've doubled.
You guys got away
$22
with
of
murder
need, $22 of need and $1 of revenue. So there's still, I mean, this is good because this shows what the priorities are. Now we can budget, and then even when we start to budget, then the council will also get another decision point of how do we allocate our funding.
But some of the goal actually bring in the additional dollars.
And that should be considered as part of the variable, right? And some of these are very limited costs, like the grant, with so.
And some of these, and this is when you think about long-term and how the city will change and grow over time, may not be finished in a year, just as some of these were started before. And so this may be a longer term, but look, if we went back and looked at the city manager's list of things you all accomplished in the last year, significant, really impressive. I know a lot of cities and I was impressed, hard to impress me. So you all are doing a lot of good things, and these will add to that. They just may not get done in 6 months or even a year.
But the objective is to provide focus on what's important to this council as we move the city forward, right? And I think we've achieved that these are the priorities, this is the direction. I mean, clearly, and so I think it's a very good job on where we're headed.
Question. So what we didn't, because we lumped things into certain categories, others are left out. And we have some committees or commissions that are struggling because we haven't defined projects for them to do that make the people on them feel worthwhile. That didn't make a priority on there. But let me bring back one that is, I can't speak for the two people, but the two that have had their district meetings yet, mine's coming up in a couple of weeks, we haven't scheduled yet, but traffic calming. We were up at Progress Seminar, and I finally caught up on emails to find out that a little boy was hit by a car on the corner of Palm Avenue and Taylor. I live on Palm Avenue. Just a few months before, 3 cars were totaled in 1 week's time. So I'm glad to see that we've got city conducts traffic calming activities, but the public either has city council to come and talk to these things about, or they can have a committee or a commission where they can go and talk about it. Now, bike pedestrian doesn't count traffic calming, but what's happening with the bike pedestrian subcommittee under Park and Rec is traffic calming. So I do strongly believe that we have to look at what goals that we take and how are we utilizing our public access points, our committees and commissions, to also create that avenue for the public to be able to have a better discussion.
Sure.
Their 1 minute at a council meeting or their 3 minutes at a council meeting isn't sufficient.
I understand, and quite honestly, often I have done things like this that are goal setting, strategic planning, team build, all those things. We have spent a very small amount of time on this in the interest of it didn't get done earlier a few months ago because people didn't have time to fill out their surveys. A few did, but not most. And therefore, now down to the wire you all are with the fiscal year ending. It'll take hundreds of hours, I'm guessing, for the budget to be completed. So go for it. Have a real 3-day planning session. I did one not long ago for a day and a half, and they said, oh, it should have been 2 days. And somebody else said it should have been 3. But when you break things down like this, it's hard to make choices. You know, you all started with 85 things up here. So you've done a fabulous job. And you've done a good job combining, and you've done a good job with starts. Now, if you want to put traffic calming up there as on our parking lot.
It's there.
It's here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's another meeting. I think that you've gone through this process and done a superb job. And it shows how much you're doing and how much you care. But the reality is there cannot be 85 goals and have them be in process or complete. It's an unrealistic expectation. You can put other things up there and say, how are we going to do this? But now you've got to give the city manager and the staff, the financial people, a chance to do their flow charts, do their accounting, look at how this works, how it can work, and then you'll have another meeting. Does that make sense?
Are we good?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, bringing it back. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, staff. Thank you to the public who commented both online and in person, and thank you for council. It has been hard work. I'm pretty happy with some of the goals. I'm not happy with a couple of them because structurally, I think we've got some significant problems. And as mayor, I will do what I can with that hat on to fix that, especially on that. But I thank you all and staff. I know Tom and Eduardo were here very late last night and over the weekend on that. So I am very appreciative of all of the time you put in, and I look forward to that. And we do not have to have a meeting tomorrow. We do not have to have a meeting on Monday. We do have at 7 o'clock a meeting with the school board to talk about how we can better coordinate and how we will set up meetings. And that is going to happen at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, Mayor,
on
we need to be
Tuesday.
careful because that discussion's not on the
I'm
agenda.
just announcing the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything. We will see each other all at 7 a.m. on Tuesday in person. Thank you. We are adjourning at 5:06 p.m.
I would like to just thank the council, Kathy, all the staff. It's hard to get 85 goals and narrow them down on what we did. So thank you very much.